All right. What's up, everybody? Good to see everyone. If you are looking for something about hurricanes, hailstorms, and drones, you have landed in the right place. So there was a lot of people who registered for this. Definitely more than I was anticipating. So I'm happy that you guys are all very enthusiastic about this topic. I've recruited a few folks to join me here today. I know a little bit about this topic. I know a pretty good amount about drones, less about hurricanes and hailstorms. So I've recruited a few other people to join me. If you don't know me, I'm assuming you do since we mostly advertise this to our email list. But if you don't, my name is David Young. I'm the founder of Drone Launch Academy, and we've been going 8 years. So since 2016, started off doing Part 107 test prep, still do that. But we've expanded into other courses on commercial drone operations. One of those things being roof inspections. And so this is actually a topic we were going to talk about anyways in October. And it just so happens that 2 hurricanes came through like right beforehand. So we thought we would just focus on this specifically. But yeah, I see everybody's already pretty active in the chat. So let us know what's going on, where you're from. And then while you're doing that, we're going to work our way around here and we'll do some intros of the other folks that you're seeing on the screen. So we'll start with Sinuhe. Sinuhe, you want to let everybody know who you are and what brings you here now?
Hey, everybody. I'm Sinuhe Montoya, and I work with Drone Quote. I founded it right around the same time David started Drone Launch Academy, and we help homeowners around the United States buy roofing and solar products for their home. And we utilize, as the name implies, drones to gather site data and put together quotes for people.
And before Sinuhe started that, he was using drones for this process himself when he was doing sales stuff. I think you got into drones before I did.
Yeah, I got into drones, utilizing them for work to sell and to measure the roofs as I was working. Early 2014, late 2013.
So you've been doing this like a decade, messing with drones and roofs.
I bought a drone with a motorcycle that I sold, and then I crashed the drone. It was
smooth.
That's what they call me.
Cool. And Sinuhe is also one of the instructors. If you guys are familiar with our company, you know we have a course called Aerial Roof Inspection Pro. Sinuhe is one of the instructors in there, and we filmed that when you lived in San Diego, so that was fun.
That's right.
Cool. So thanks, Sinuhe. And then now, Michael, you want to give us a little intro about yourself and what brings you here?
Yeah. So I'm actually with Sinuhe with Drone Quote. I have no background with drones, unfortunately. Eventually, I'm going to get into it. It's going to happen. But basically, what I'm here is for, I've been in roofing and solar for the past decade. So that's kind of where I come to bring to the table here.
Cool. And you've seen your fair share of roofs and damage.
Quite a bit.
We can dive into that. So
absolutely.
Michael's going to talk to you about hail damage, and we've got some fun pictures to see, so you see that. And then if you're familiar with Drone Launch Academy, you might already know Root, but if not, Root, give yourself a little intro here.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Root Patel, and I am the president of Voyager Engineering and Voyager Industries. I started this company around 2017. I got into drones at the early age. I was still in India, and I was into building drones. But when I moved to America, I started using drones to take pictures, and the Hurricane Irma came, and the whole thing changed. I started using drones for my first commercial job other than real estate was to do the roof inspection, and ended up doing 1,800 that year. And then my engineering company took off, and then expanded into more engineering services using drones. And I'm very happy that I got connected with everyone like David and Sinuhe in the industry.
Yeah. Root has also seen a lot of roofs. I think 3 of you have seen more roofs than 1% of the roofs I've seen. So I'm glad you guys were able to join up here. Because if it was just going to be me, this would be a pretty short presentation. So cool. All right, well, let me share. The way it's going to work is we're going to share click around. So I got some slides to go through that we can draw on that have some pictures and some other things. I'm going to share my computer screen where I'm going to show you how we do some flight planning, 3D modeling, inspection, annotating, inspection reports, things like that. Michael's going to share his screen at some point, show you the hail damage. Root's going to share his screen. He's done some of his own roof reports. So he's going to show you what those look like when he was identifying damage on a roof. So we'll sort of be bouncing back and forth a little bit, but I'm going to pull up my screen here. Let me know if you guys can all see this. Hopefully you can. All right. We all see this? You guys see this, Sinuhe and crew?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So the agenda for this evening, presenter intros, we just did that. So we're on a good pace. Check. We're going to talk a little bit about what is the sort of impact, like how much damage is there with hailstorms and hurricanes. It's in the billions, so I'm not sure if it matters to you whether it's 5 billion, 10 billion, 20. Like I just kind of lose track in my head at some point, but we'll look at what the actual data is that we can find to see how, I guess, big of a deal this is, and thus how much help and assistance people need after these types of events. So we'll talk about that. Then I'm going to turn it over to Michael briefly to talk about hail damage, some common types that he's seen. We're going to show you, like, what does that look like on a roof? You know, so if you are out there in the future and you get your drone up and you're able to sort of take a map, 3D model, or just pictures, you know what you're looking for, so you're not a total, you know, just kind of clueless and unhelpful. We want you to try to make you helpful from this. And then I'm going to talk about hurricane damage. Root can chime in here a little bit too. My roof actually got jacked up during one of the last hurricanes, Hurricane Irma, and I had a bunch of roofers out. I got up there with them. They showed me all the different types of damage. We got photos. So I was very familiar with that, walking through that with them. I got a whole roof replacement. Then the hurricane just came through, last week. And so my roof's pretty new. I just flew my roof again, which I'll show you the model of later on this training. I did this maybe 3-4 hours ago, created a model, and I found out just now that a few more shingles ripped off. And so we're going to show you what that looks like, how I identified that. I would not have been able to see it without a drone. And we'll show you how we can find that in inspection reports. Then I'm going to walk you through the actual process of if you're going to do this with a drone, what the process is to create sort of a 3D model or orthomosaic image of your roof if you're trying to get measurements, inspect the damage, what that would look like and how it's useful. And then I'll turn it over mostly to the rest of the crew here on who's utilizing these services. Like who's gonna, if you are a solo pilot and you want to help out with this, where do opportunities lie? If you are a roofer, maybe you just know I'll just use this for myself. Maybe you're an insurance adjuster, you can use it for yourself. But we'll talk about kind of what opportunities are there and where can you sort of be helpful and not a nuisance in these types of scenarios. And then, as always, whenever we do these trainings for people who come, we give them sort of special deals on our courses if they want to dive deep and go into it. But it's optional at the end. We'll mention that, and then we'll stick around for Q&A. All right, if that sounds good to everyone, we'll dive in. Everybody good here? We got 350 on the call. Very nice. I'm just perusing through real quick on the where everybody's from. Seems like all over the place. I did see somebody from New Hampshire. Shout out New Hampshire. I used to live there. That's where I grew up when I was a little kid. Cool. Australia. Oh my gosh. That's far. Probably the furthest. All right, let's go. I think I already talked about this. Drone launch been around for 8 years. I looked the other day. This is a little bit old, but we've had over 48,000 people take at least one of our courses, which I thought was pretty sweet. And I do a lot of Part 107 training, but I'm a ground instructor, private pilot, remote pilot, all that stuff. Okay, financial impacts of storms. I try to look around. Sometimes there's different data, but here's what I found out for hail claims. So I looked, and then Michael, you can chime in on this too if you want. But according to Insurance Information Institute, which is what I kept getting directed back to, they said it's between 8 billion and 14 billion per year. I saw another thing that said 10 billion, so kind of lines up for hail related claims. So hail hitting stuff, insurance having to replace it. Michael, is that consistent with your experience or anything to add there?
Yeah, so what we're seeing there is that's actually what's claimed. And so typical estimates are only about 20% is actually claimed.
Wow.
So majority of people are going about their day to day and they don't realize they have hail damage on their home. And so that's one of the big industries right now is nobody gets up on the home. And so with a drone, you can easily identify that. And so that's one of the crazy things to offer about that number is that's strictly claimed. That's what we know. So the estimates beyond what's claimed are far more outrageous.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Right before we turned the call on, I was telling them, I was like, yeah, I had, and I'll show you pictures later. I was like, I got wood rot on the boards of my house because
Mm-hmm.
from some of the wind damage. I was like, I didn't even know that I had hurricane damage or enough hurricane damage until almost a year after that hurricane, because then it started leaking through, because I had never had it inspected or looked at to know that the damage was there. And by that time it was a lot worse. And then they had to have a bunch of stuff on the inside redone too. So it kind of became a mess. So I guess that's true. You don't really realize how much damage is there until you look at it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Then if you move on to hurricanes, so they call them, tropical cyclones, but basically hurricanes. It's hard, there was different estimates. There were some estimates ahead of Hurricane Milton that just came through. And then there was the Hurricane Helene. I think they were estimating those in the 50 billions, but the average hurricane causes almost $23 billion per event of damage. Now, obviously some of that's going to be other types of damage, but a lot of that is going to be roof damage. Here in Lakeland, we're about 30 miles inland from Tampa, but there were still trees on top of houses, people that the roof's getting a lot of shingles ripped off, a lot of damage and some other things there. So anyways, all this to say, it's in the billions per year or per event. So much damage, which creates a lot of opportunity to help if you're in one of these places. Really, hailstorm happens a lot of places. Hurricanes mainly southeast, but there's still wind damage that can be caused to roofs, sort of no matter where you are. Or other reasons that you might not want to get up on a roof to inspect it for whatever reason it is. Cool. All right. Let's dive into some hail damage. All right. Michael, are you able to share your screen and I can turn over you? Or do you have those photos, or do you want me to share them and then you can speak to them?
Yeah, I got a few. You want to share what you got and I can show? Or I can talk about it?
Yeah. Let me pull it up. All right. So this is... Here, I can start from... let me start from the... Oh, goodness. Not what I was trying to do. All right.
We'll see if it works. If not, I can share my screen too.
This is what I got. This is the first picture you had. Does this
work? That's
work?
the first picture. Yeah. Okay. So really what we're trying to do here, if you can see right in the middle of the screen is the ridge line. And if you had this yourself, you'd actually see there's 50 hail hits on that alone. Not to mention where you can see actually where the lost granules are. So this is one of the things that you want to be looking for when you're doing the inspection. One of the cool things about this, you see it right there. So hail's pretty easy to spot. One of the great things to look at is also the metal pieces on the roof. I don't know if we got you one of the ones with the vents or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I saw
but
some.
those are really easy to see the hail indentation on it. And what you're typically looking for is by a 10 by 10 area. See, that's full replacement right there. Really what insurance does with all those metal pieces, if there's one dent in it, they're going to replace the whole thing because you can't repair it. And so they do the same thing with the roof. They're just looking for 10 hits within a 10 by 10 area. And then they do a full replacement of the roof. One of the crazy statistics, typically there's, close to about 5,000 major hailstorms nationwide every single year. And so with this is, basically coast to coast is where you're seeing hail damage, where you're seeing these types of repairs needed. So it's pretty easy to spot it with that eye in the sky. It's going to be an easy thing to see.
Do you want me to keep flipping through?
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, honestly. You'll see these dings on there. You're going to see the loss in granules as well. Sometimes you'll just have a loss in granules on the actual shingles. But most of the time, if you see these big storms, you're going to see an actual indentation like you do on that one on the right side. And then you can see the loss on the granules on the left. That's from just being battered by the hail. The one on the right is quite a big piece of hail that just indented it straight through.
Are you talking about here as the indent, or are you talking about here as the indent?
Nope, both of those are indents. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep. And if you go to that other slide, you can see this one. Yeah, this customer, so this one was one of my customers, but he had sat through the years. He had never been inspected. because everyone gets hail, right? And then you just hear it's loud in your house. You assume, there's no leak, everything's fine. But what that sets you up for is just going to be, major water damage, because that's completely destroyed what's actually protecting your home. And so people don't understand just because, they're like, oh, it's just a dent, it's not a big deal. But it took away all the granules and the water seeps through. All that's underneath that granules is basically just fabric. And so then this gentleman actually had roof rot on his home. We had to reshingle it or resheet it and everything.
Hmm.
But he just never had anyone inspect it. And so that's why they're saying only about 20% replace their roofs. The other 80%, typically they think that their insurance rate's going to go up. They don't understand that the insurance covers it, and they never get it inspected. And so that's really what they're needing. It's just someone to inspect it. But this gentleman had been through quite a few years of some pretty hefty hail damage.
Yeah. A couple of people are asking, you mentioned like a 10 by 10 area. Was that 10? Can you go back over that again? Was that inches or feet, or what was the
10 by
criteria?
10 is going to be feet. Yep.
And what was
Yeah.
the
And so it's going to be typically 10 hits within a square is what they call it. So it's going to be a 10 by 10 area. And you can map it out pretty easily.
You said 10 hits in a 10 by 10 area?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gotcha. All right, let's see if we can go to the so what are we looking at here? More hits?
Yeah, so that's yeah. So yeah, with the high definition of this, typically you can zoom in and see the hits, see right there. So you can see quite a few hits, and you just map them out. So you're just going to draw a 10 by 10. One of the cool things now is the insurance companies that actually pay for these roofs, they've actually fully pivoted to using drones themselves. And so GAF is one of the largest manufacturers of shingles in the nation, and they've actually coupled with, I don't know if you guys know about Loveland Innovations, and that's strictly drone inspection of roofs. They have the high definition footage from that, and then now all the insurance companies are actually accepting that as well. So the whole industry is shifting this direction.
It's funny. I remember when we first started doing this, talked to insurance adjusters, and they were like, oh, never. Like, I got to get my feet up there, and there's no way you can see it. And they were all very anti whatever. And then I ran into some people at a drone conference from like a large insurance carrier. I don't want to like get in trouble by saying their name, but they have like commercials on TV and stuff. And they were like, oh yeah, we're starting up we want all of our adjusters to use drones now. I was like, oh yeah, interesting. Okay. So
and that's the way of the whole industry, because they have massive liability with people actually getting up on the roofs. And so roofing is still one of the most dangerous jobs in America, and that includes being an inspector, or someone that's just inspector for the insurance company, or just a roofer that's inspecting it for a customer. And so that's why a lot of them are shifting towards drones, because the insurance costs for these companies are outrageous.
So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this, you could see just where that paint is actually,
like
looks like bird poop, but it's not. That's actually, it's a hail indentation right there. And so you can see where it just kind of shatters that paint. Yep, exactly right there. And so that's a hail hit right there.
Interesting. I didn't even know when I got these pictures earlier. I was like, oh, we just measuring out metal stuff on the roof. Okay.
David, I got to point something out if I may. Earlier, Michael made a comment that piqued my attention, and that was, it can be self-explanatory, if you will, if you know what you're looking for. And sometimes, like me specifically, I will get, because I'm in the weeds of it. It's like, oh, I see it here, I see it there, without really giving it much thought. But initially, you don't necessarily know what you're looking at, right? So like this is a prime example of that paint splatter or discoloration from the impact. One would not necessarily think that that's hail damage. And a homeowner, of course, is not going to think anything like that, right?
No, absolutely not.
It's like, oh, it's like, I have a roof, I'm fine. Like when you have bald tires, you feel you're good because you have tires, but they're really bald. This is a prime example of, that's a prime example of people thinking that they're seeing something and it's fine, but it's really not.
That's why they need a third party to verify that. And that's where the drone pilots will come in to collect the data.
And that's exactly where we come in, because what the issue is that the homeowners, right, they stand outside, they look up at the roof, they're like, it looks all intact, I'm good to go. Or they'll call their insurance company and say, hey, we were hit by a hailstorm. what should I do? And what they tell them is that you have to have someone else inspect it. Once they've inspected it and say that there's hail damage, that's when the insurance company comes out. And so
Yeah.
that's what we're here for, is we come out there, we do the full inspection, and we see if there is hail damage or not, which it does take a trained eye to notice these things. And once you can notify the homeowner that there is hail damage, they then contact their insurance company, and that's where everything gets taken care of from there.
Yeah. Now, quick question, just because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as experienced with hail. If this is metal, right, and this is just like looks like a hail thing hit it and it's discolored, doesn't necessarily look damaged to me? Is that just more an indication that hail is striking the roof, or is this piece now damaged?
Yeah, so the insurance company then marks that as damage, and they have to replace the whole thing. And that's
This
their policy, no one else's. Yeah.
Oh, they'll say
Mm-hmm.
if hail has struck this, it is now damaged.
Yeah.
And we'll replace it,
Yeah,
even though
because
it's
it's
not
a
visibly like
yep,
jacked
all
up.
of yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And so even to me, I'm like, well, it'll still work, but to the actual insurance agency for the home, right? If any of those products are damaged and they don't work properly, like ventilation on your roof, right? If you don't get proper ventilation on your roof, it will destroy your entire roof. And so that's something that these insurance agencies that put up all this money for your home, they understand. And so that's why they have to replace literally everything.
Gotcha. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Interesting. Very nice. I'm learning something too here. All right. I think that was the end of your
My
hail
slides.
photos.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything else on hail, or we can open it up to the rest of the folks here too?
Yeah, we can open it up to the rest.
I mean, I would be beating a dead horse.
Root, have you done? I feel like you have done some stuff with hail damage, Root, right?
I have,
no?
yes. But yeah, Michael covered almost everything, so I didn't feel the need to say that. But yeah, I've done a lot of hail, and you'll be surprised how much hail damage even there is in Florida.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. All right. I guess we'll we can always let's do some questions real quick before we move on, because I saw a couple here.
Sure.
I think y'all have been answering a lot of them, or many of them in the chat. I think these were just taken with. These were not taken with a drone, obviously, because there's a hand there with a measuring tape in the last one. But people are asking what kind of drones are capable of this. So really, any like standard DJI drone would be able to take pretty good pictures if you get close enough. If you have like a 12 megapixel camera.
I'll answer that because it's about the drone too. But again, sorry to interrupt, but
Please.
when I just got started, I was flying the Inspire 1, and I thought you need the best drone, and I was just getting started, right? And I was flying the best drone available at that time, and I crashed it on the customer's roof. I hit the tree, and suddenly I thought, like my business is over. How am I gonna do? Immediately I had to finish the job. I went to Best Buy and bought a Mavic 1. At that time, it was like a very shitty camera compared to what we have now, but I still got the job done, and I made more money to cover the Inspire and make a lot of profit using the Mavic. So it's not about the drone you fly, it's about what you provide to your client. That's what matters. Use what you have. Right now, any drone that's good customer quality that you can deliver to your client would be good for inspection. I would say get the best equipment you have it available, but if you're not able to do that, don't let that stop you from getting the clients and doing the work.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Also see a lot of people just like throwing lots of questions in here. A lot of what you're asking, we're going to be addressing here shortly. So, and I promise we'll stick around for Q&A at the end. So if we get through this all and we don't answer your question, we can answer it then. Okay. So, but I don't want to like start going out of order in a bunch of different ways, confusing everyone. So
there's a lot.
Yeah. So let's go back. We got a lot to get through here. So we talked about hail damage, what it looks like. All right, let's talk about hurricane damage. I see a few people in the chat who look like they maybe deal with this anyways. But here's my experience with it, having talked to many roofers, having my roof fully replaced from hurricane damage, getting on the roof with those roofers, flying my drone over a bunch, seeing a bunch of other stuff. So first thing you're going to is wind damage, right? Hurricanes, they're going to be blowing 75 mile an hour plus, a lot of times 100 plus mile an hour winds on your roof. So this is actually my roof right here. I took this a few hours ago. This is actually Root's roof right here from the last hurricane. and I got this one from somewhere else. But the wind will blow your shingles. I mean, there's a little adhesive layer on the bottom, like asphalt adhesive, and which make all the shingles stick together, right? Water hits it, it's supposed to just roll off because they overlap each other, so it doesn't get underneath. But when the wind hits it, it can keep going and it can pick the shingle up and bend it back. So that's what you see with a lot of roof damage. It'll just rip the shingles off. So you can see here, like the shingles actually like tore here. So you can see it just ripping off. I mean, this is Root's house. I mean, dude, you got it bad. It just ripped off this entire section, blowing this way, right? So
yeah,
pretty obvious wind damage. This was almost a brand new roof. This got replaced after one of the last hurricanes. And so you can see this, oh gosh, this is called a ridge cap. Am I messing that up, Sinuhe? All right. Ridge cap.
That's correct.
Yeah, so you can look at my ridge cap. Like this got completely blown off. Now you can see it's exposed here, and nails are exposed, which, you don't want that. Not the worst damage in the world, but that's another example. The wind was coming from this way the whole time, all night. I lost a ceiling fan on my porch. It got ripped out of the ceiling and blown about 30 feet across the yard. Got messed up. So the wind was hitting pretty hard from this way. So it makes sense. So, wind damage is kind of obvious, right? It's going to pick your shingles up. But one way so you can tell just by missing shingles. I found a couple shingles just around in my yard that had blown off. That's a duplicate slide, sorry. But then somebody was actually mentioning in here that you cannot lose a shingle but still have roof damage that you almost don't notice. And I had this problem in 2017 when Irma came through. I'm pretty sure I got my drone out and took a look at my roof, and I saw a few shingles missing, but I didn't notice anything else because I didn't really know to look for this. But you can look for creasing. So I mentioned, the wind will hit it and it'll bend the shingle back and then it'll come back down. And that roofer got up there and showed me, like, look, see all these shingles? Had a ton of shingles on one section of my roof. He could just loosely pick them up with his hands and flap them, like they were just barely hanging on. And he's like, the wind whipped all these back, and now water was getting up underneath him and rotted all the wood out underneath. And I didn't realize this. So it's been going on for almost a year and really jacked it up. But if you look here, I think hopefully you guys can see this okay. There are like crease marks here and here. So obviously this looks like some wind came from this direction for this roof. A little bit hard to see with the darker shingles, but there's crease marks here. And then they've marked them here, right? So you can see these are darker creases. They marked them with chalk. So that's something else you can look for if you are sort of examining your model, which we'll show you how to make in just a second. If you have like an ortho or a model or just photos, you can check those there. And then this is just to illustrate what I was talking about. There's this kind of adhesive strip here, right, that gets ripped off, and I don't think it re-sticks once you pull it off. You have to replace the whole panel at that point. So that's another type of, and then another indicator of wind damage. All right. Wood rot. So once your shingles blow off or lift up, guess what? Moisture's coming in, rain's coming in. And guess what? The wind's gonna lift your shingle up, and then it's continue to blow rain all up underneath them and into your roof. I didn't know that. So if you're looking right here, this is my roof post Hurricane Irma. This is the area they were talking about where the wind was coming this way, blowing those shingles up, coming this way, and it sort of caused some water damage. Now there's not like gaping holes, but they're like, yeah, it was really soft. So we stepped on it and our foot was like going through it. So I didn't love it at the time because my insurance check was going to be $1 amount no matter what. And then they're like, oh yeah, we had to replace, 14 sheets of plywood, and that's X number of more dollars. I'm like, so whatever. It worked out fine. I got a new roof out of it. But yeah, so this is my soffit underneath here. So there's not much else other there than the boards. And then I'm pretty sure they lay some material in between and then nail the shingles on, right? This is another example of just, wood rot that you'd see. So you're going to see dark discoloration, sunken areas. I think everybody knows what wet wood looks like, or wood that is rotting away. It's not incredibly hard to spot. So that you'll get some wood rot. And that's an additional cost of stuff that has to be replaced. So, all right. Any questions so far? I see a few in here. What software is available? We're getting to that, Peter. A lot of people are asking about how much do you charge for like doing these inspections. We'll get to that too. What What if half is the roof is covered by a big tree? We'll talk about that too. Actually, a big part of my roof is covered by a big tree. You can see it when I go talk about it. You could do this with a Mini too. Yeah. Let's see here. Is a certification required for insurance purposes? If you're just a drone pilot, we can talk about this later, but if you're just a drone pilot, you're not necessarily saying like, hey, I'm giving you information that's good for court, but you're more, a lot of times drone pilots will work with, I've seen it a couple different ways, and we can talk about it. Sometimes drone pilots work with insurance companies to help them document a ton of damage, and they'll work with adjusters, or sometimes you can help the homeowner get a roof inspection so that they have something they can take to a roofing company, show them, so they already know what's up there and what the damage is. So we can get into that later, but this is not to make you like a roofing engineer to where you're going to go testify in court about the cause of a leak or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
I want to add real quick, David, if I may. I think that we bring more value to the homeowner than we do to the insurance agencies, because the insurance agencies usually are utilizing drones for their benefit, which is not usually for the benefit of the homeowner. Whereas, us as drone pilots offering our services to the property owners, they're able to leverage that data against the insurance companies. When the insurance companies say, well, there was no damage, you can say, hey, look, this is what the roof looked like before, because I have this information or this data compiled through an assessment that was done by a drone.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. A lot of roofing company that hired me were actually for the replacing the roof to prove to the insurance company there is enough damage there. And I want to share my screen and show you kind of a sample report, what we kind of delivered to our the client. Our client, I see a lot of people asking who you sell this to. Well, in this case, a lot of time it's many different things. Homeowners, a lot of time your roofing companies who want to replace a roof are your customers. In my case, I was selling my services and the inspection report to the roofing company who were already working with the homeowner who had the damage, and they were using my report to submit to the insurance company to get the claim approved. I'm gonna share my screen to show you. Just a second, I have to give a permission on my computer real quick. All right, let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Not yet.
Can you guys see the screen?
No.
Almost. I'll fill it in while you're getting this fixed. Yeah, no worries.
So if you're having trouble, I can always try to. Are you doing the report that you sent to me earlier?
Yes.
All right, Michael, you can chime in, and then if it doesn't work, I can try to get it.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things that I think a lot of times we naively misunderstand is that our insurance company wants to help us. The entire reason that insurance companies are around is because they're here for profit, right? So they make money, and the entire reason they make money is because they don't do what they should do. And so that's where we come into play, is we're simply advocates for the homeowner. For instance, when a hailstorm goes through, any major corporation like these insurance companies, they know exactly what houses were hit and which houses' roofs need to be replaced. But their entire goal is to not replace those roofs. That's how they stay in profit. And so that's where when a homeowner will call their insurance company and say, hey, we had a major hailstorm, can you come inspect my roof? They're like, no, we need some data. We need some proof that you actually have damage. That's where you as a drone pilot come into play. And so you can do that on behalf of homeowners. You can do that on behalf of actual roofing companies. So there's multiple routes and avenues that you can go about this. But the entire, purpose of this is you're simply there to help homeowners, just as you're talking about with that report. So as soon as you get that report, that's exactly what you were doing there, is you are bringing actual evidence to these insurance companies who are fighting tooth and nail to pay what they actually owe the homeowner.
And especially after a large storm event where they know they're going to be paying out a ton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Root, I have.
Can you see the screen?
Well, I see that you put it up there, but you shared your entire screen. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay. So here's the inspection report.
Is that what you want to share?
Okay, go ahead. Yes. So this is the inspection report that we use for the homeowners. Our client
Mhm.
was a roofing company who hired me to take a inspection report so they can submit it to the insurance company so customer can get a new roof. So just to go over the thing, it shows like what's included in it, what's the estimate report, what's the measurements going to be, general information, when the inspection was done. So we flew the drone over. You can see my Inspire in the shadow. We were flying, and here you can see the cracked on the actual tile.
And someone was
And
asking earlier, they're like, hey, you're only showing asphalt single, any other types of material. So here's like a
yes, so
tile roof.
here's a tile roof, and you can see there is a lot of damage. And using drone, it can
Mhm.
really make it easy to inspect. We did the whole inspection in 12 to 15 minutes, and I was doing about 12 to 15 roofs per day, starting from morning to the evening, and getting a lot of coverage after the hurricane done. Here, just going to show you the same thing over and over. And on the left, you can see the arrow, what side of the roof has the damage, how much is the damage, all of that. And now we're getting into more into the measurement report. So we use our software to measure all the roof, all the ridges, everything they need to know about, draw the entire diagram, everything, all the measurements. And this one, now we're getting more into the estimate, so that's going to calculate all the costs and everything, what's replaced, how much is going to cost and everything. So this gives an unbiased report to the homeowners, to the roofing company, and the insurance company by a third party like me or any other drone pilot who want to use this. And there is no bias towards one thing. This is what it is,
Mhm.
this is what it shows, and this is exactly how much it's going to cost according to the new price. And at the end, it is, of course, signed and signature by a licensed architect or the structural engineer or whoever required to do that. So you can see all the report signed by Anthony E. He's a licensed architect in state of Florida, more than 25 years of experience. And when the insurance company sees this, it becomes very hard for them to deny the evidence of how much damage is there on the roof. And again, this was in 2019. This was a long time ago we were doing this, but this is an old report. But now what I started doing after helping, what the problem I got into, and a lot of drone pilot get into, how do I make money with this? That's the problem. Like, this is good. So what I started doing is I started partnering with a lot of roofing companies, and we select the
Mhm.
area after the hurricane passes, and we fly the entire neighborhood using a fixed wing drone or the regular drone, create the ortho mosaic, and go on each roof by ourselves without anyone else paying us. Go on each roof, see if there is more than 25% damage. Because in state of Florida, if your roof has more than 25% damage that you can prove, you qualify for a free roof replacement. I don't know what the rules are now because I stopped doing it for a year, focus on other things. But that's what we were doing, and we helped thousands of homeowners get the new roof after the hurricane passed. And I sell those leads to the roofing company so they can use that data to knock on the doors of the homeowners, and they say, we detected some damage on your roof. Would you like us to replace or give you the full report? And that's when they hire us to do the full report. So the problem of not getting enough client pushed me to get this solution and get the clients on our own. So many of
Yeah.
us, you can go and do this kind of stuff. So that's
Yeah.
what all I
Mhm.
wanted to share, that
No, I love it.
insurance
I love it.
company will try to not pay homeowners who wants to get a new roof. You are the bridge, you are the gap, you are the one that bridges the gap between the homeowners, roofing, and the insurance company.
Yep. All right. A lot of you are asking how to do this. So let's go. I'm going to try to do quickly. If you're going to go take a drone and go create a report like Root or some of these other ones you're seeing, we're going to show you a model that I just did like right before this call. Like, I think I did it at 4 o'clock. I went out, took my drone out, created a flight plan, tested everything out, took off, flew it, collected the data, processed it, and we'll look at it, the analysis together, so you can see the whole process here. So first thing you're going to do, plan. A couple things for planning. We're not going to like dive too deep into it because we're running a little short, but you want to check the airspace. There's so many apps you can do this with. Make sure you're not in controlled airspace. If you are, just get permission to fly there. If you're doing roof stuff, you're going to be pretty low to the ground anyway. So you're not going to need 200, 300, 400 feet unless you're doing sort of like neighborhood overviews like Root was doing. But for my roof, I think I flew at like 65 feet or something, or lower. Sometimes lower is better because you are covering a very small area and you'll get a little more detail. So So it's plan. So you check your airspace. You want to check your tallest obstacle, mainly trees. So we actually let me just show you really quickly in we talk. It's easier to go. So this is the Aerial Roof Inspection Pro course. So if you go planning your flights, okay. So this is getting your airspace authorization. Obviously checking the weather. You can look outside, but obviously you don't want winds to be at a certain area. If you're going somewhere you're not familiar with, this is actually a really good tip. Go inspect the area with Google Earth.
The location of our property.
It's pretty good. You can even do like Google Earth Pro. You can see like what power lines are there, what trees are there, where you might want to set up, where you're going to do your flight plan at. So go check out Google Earth Pro or Google Earth Pro. Scout out your spot if you're not familiar with it already. And typically, again, if you're in a neighborhood and you're doing one for your one homeowner, you could always go to the next door and say, hey, you want me to do this for you as well? Sinuhe is really good at going door to door. But yeah, you want to do that. Where's this? Yeah. So there's also like site walkthrough. This is when you're gonna like walk.
Before you finish your site walkthrough, make sure
this. So you're gonna walk around and look for. Let's see if I can find where it is. Basically, you're gonna look for. There we go. Like big trees. So what you can do is you can take your drone off, get the camera looking at the horizon, fly to the top of the tree until you can see right over the tree. See how high your drone is. Now give yourself some buffer room over that. I don't know, 10, 20 feet. And then pan left and right to make sure there's nothing else you can see that's sticking up above that altitude. Towers, cables. Last thing you want to do is throw an automated flight plan and then fly your drone right into a power line. So that's what you want to do for planning and setup. And then let me see if I can pop over here to Drone Link. Okay, so this is a software called Drone Link. You can use Drone Deploy, Drone Link. There's several. There's one for Pix4D as well. Pix4D Capture, I think. I like Drone Link. It works. I use the Mavic Air 2S. It's right over. I have it right back there. I like this drone. Use it with Drone Link. This is my neighborhood. I literally typed in my neighborhood up here. It brought me here. I said create map. Add map. I clicked on it. If I want to do the neighbor's house, I could click there. Boom! It creates a map for me. Although now, I don't want to see that one. Okay. And then you can modify it. I did a cross hatch pattern because I wanted to get I just wanted more photos. Sometimes if you only have a few photos, like if I was only going to fly back and forth like 3 lanes, wouldn't really give me a lot of images. So I wanted a lot of images to fill it out. I did this, and I took a couple manual photos as well. We talk about that over here for your manual flight. So you're going to want to fly around, take certain top-down photos, make sure you get all like the edges, eaves, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get more of a 3D model or just a top-down, ortho, I think it's sometimes better to get a little bit better of a model. You'll see what that looks like. So on Drone Link, I got this. This was only 99 photos. I flew it at, actually, sorry. No, that's not true because I'll delete this one. It was counting that other map. Here we go. It was 49 photos, and I flew it at 85 feet. And then I came back and I did some manual shots closer up at an angle so I could get some of the sides. And so I'll show you what that looks like. So literally you put this into, you hook your stuff up, you hit a button, and your drone takes off and starts doing this. Again, there's a bunch of different software that can, if you're wondering, will this work with my drone? Because everybody wants to know that. Go to Drone Link compatibility. They have a whole list of the drones that are compatible. Or if you want to use Drone Deploy compatibility. Whole list of drones there. Okay. So that's the flight plan. I mean, pretty basic. You want to get sort of the outsides because even though your drone's out here, the side of the camera is going to be capturing things over here, and you want some more overlap in your image. And it's such a small area that you can kind of expand it a bit there. All right. So once I did that, I literally did that this afternoon. I used Pix4D, but you can use Pix4D, Drone Deploy. If you want to go cheap, there's a software called Maps Made Easy. That's the one we teach in the course because a lot of people are sort of just dabbling into this. So you saw plan, you saw me. This is the thing I did. And I just hit a button to collect the data. And then I did a little bit closer up shots of the roof so I could get some more detail. But so if you want free or cheap, I would go with Maps Made Easy. or Birdie.
Reality capture is also free.
Oh yeah, reality capture. But that one these are cloud. Reality capture you have to have a desktop for, at least a decently powered PC. But yeah, reality capture, that's really good for modeling. So I use Pix4D. I just had the basic version of Pix4D. I pay like $60 a month, and I get a certain amount of credits every month. And this used a tiny amount of credits. Okay, so I processed that. Here's what it looked like. So when I loaded up my images, it showed me on a very blurry map. Maybe the resolution would have been better if I would have let it sit for longer. But it showed me where all my photos were taken. I hit load. It asked me some questions about coordinate systems. If you're doing like survey type mapping, advanced stuff, you need to know this. For this, just leave whatever's in there. We're not doing like absolute accuracy. This is more for inspection purposes. So you can just confirm their default choices. And then it was literally like, all right, uploading. So I had 83 images altogether. So once that was done, here's what it looked like. So let's dive into, I have that model up here. All right, you guys are going to see my house. Enjoy. All right. Now, again, I did this quickly. If I wanted to make this really nice, I could have taken a lot more images. I could have, the more images I get from the side, the more data the model has to sort of fill in the gaps and pieces. So for instance, if you look here, like this looks pretty jacked up because I didn't take any pictures from this angle. It barely just caught the corner of the photos when it was doing this, okay? So this is the 3D model. What you'll typically see is something like this. You'll see like a 2D photo. This is called the ortho. So if you see people that like have an orthomosaic image, this is what, if you're gonna do like measurements off of or area or things like that, you know, I can measure like a line from like this corner to this corner and it'll tell me, I have it in meters, I could change it, but it tells me the slope, the 2D length, all this stuff, right? So I can do that and I can tag it a certain way. But I think it's easier if you look at it from a 3D model perspective. And sometimes people go look at point clouds, but the textured mesh is easier for visual inspection purposes. So this is what a point cloud looks like. This is what's like kind of behind the data. It's just a ton of tiny dots in space. And you can see like where there's not enough data in my model, right? So like my house is see-through on the front and on the back because I didn't go and get, if I wanted to fill that in, I could go angled shots and I could get a lot more from there. But I didn't really care about that. So, because I don't necessarily want to inspect the side of my house at this time. So I was looking around. I really didn't see much damage on my house. Whoa. This is actually where I'm sitting right now. This is my little office, in case you guys really cared. Okay. So I did find some damage over here on this part of the roof. Okay. As I was flying around looking, I was like, oh, I'm missing a shingle right here. Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay. So sometimes it takes a sec to render too. Okay. Ooh. You guys see this? So that is a missing ridge cap, the one I showed you earlier from the photo. Now this looks a little garbly because I didn't get any good photos from here. But if I was like, ooh, I want to inspect this, let me see the source images from my data, from all the pictures I took. Let me see what it looks like, not as a model, but actually the source image. So I can do annotation, or I believe, sorry, it's this inspect right here. I can click inspect, and I click on the model right there. Boom. And now it pulls up all of the images of that part of the roof. Actually, maybe it didn't grab the right spot. Hold on. Let me do this again. Inspect. Maybe I can do it right there. Okay, there we go. So now I can see the missing shingle right there, and I can look at all the different pictures and all the different angles where it got that same exact image. So there's an image. You can see it missing there. You can see it missing there. So I could, and you can do the same thing no matter what software you have, really. You can mark a spot. I can type like missing ridge cap. And I could tag it a certain way and I could hit save. And now all of a sudden the annotations show up and someone could click on that in the model and it'll bring them right to it and it would show them all the stuff. And then I can export a annotated inspection report. So this is Pix4D Cloud, but you can do this in an app called Mira. You can do this in Propeller. You can do this in a bunch of different ways. Most cloud-based image photogrammetry software. One that you can't, so Maps Made Easy is not the best for like 3D models, and Birdie not the best for 3D models, but those will still process your data and you can at least get the 2D view pretty good. Okay. So that's the like a quick rough and dirty of it. And again, if I wanted to really like, if I was like, oh no, I need to make this, I did this in literally like 10 minutes, the whole automated flight, manual flight, bring my drone back. I mean, I was just going pretty quick. But if I really cared to like get good data, there's like a big awning here. I could go to the side and I could take a lot more angled photos that are lower to the ground and get all that. But I expected, so one thing I saw, I was looking over here and I'm like, what is this little black thing over here? There were some shadows. I would normally do this like earlier in the day so there's not so many shadows. But again, I was just working with what I had. You can see I had some fence panels blow out. This my neighbor's tree came down and crushed our fence. These fence panels are still here. The model just didn't pick them up. But if you look here, I was like, what is this black thing over here? But you can actually get pretty close, and it's somehow like a rope ended up on my roof. I have 5 children. I imagine one of them did that. So anyways, not damaged, but just another interesting thing you can see about your roof when you're looking around to see what's there. Like it's pretty good reconstruction for being really quick. And I was looking around at some other spots too to make sure that there was nothing that I could see damage wise. And I only found one shingle. So anyways, I looked around, but you can scan your whole roof like this pretty quickly without ever having to get up on it, right? I never had to put a ladder up there. And I've got this, you know, good documentation. So this is that spot that I showed you on those photos where it got replaced. Last time the wind came from this direction and blew all these shingles up all the way up to the flashing up there. So anyways, all right. So that's one version of an inspection model that you can do. Again, there are other types of software, but if you had that, Drone Deploy actually has like a roof report add-on where if you give it the ortho, it can automatically mark all the dimensions. Now you can manually mark the dimensions in here. I'm not sure if Pix4D Cloud has its own roof inspection functionality. You can manually mark the edges, but in Drone Deploy, everything will automatically find the edges, the area, get all the slopes, everything like that if someone's looking for that kind of data. So, but yeah, so that's how you actually create the model. It's not super when you're doing small scale stuff where you don't need like survey accuracy, tying it to like certain coordinates and all that. Photogrammetry becomes fairly simple using cloud tools for simple like building asset inspections. Okay. Anything to add? Other folks that are Sinuhe, Root, Mike?
So I have a question. Perhaps I'm just echoing what somebody else said. That is software that's compatible with the built-in screen devices, whereas most people utilize their phone.
Yeah.
Do you have a laptop?
DroneLink will work with that.
DroneLink, okay.
Yeah, if you got to do a little workaround, they have instructions on their website how to do it. But if you do like DroneLink, what is it? Not Smart Controller. Is that called Smart Controller? With the ones with the Crystal Sky, or I don't remember. No, that was the old ones with the screen on them. I'm blanking on whatever it is with the built-in screen with the official name of the DJI controllers, but they do work with that.
Thank you.
Cool. Root, do you want to show real quick? Do you have Nira pulled up?
I have, yes. I'm going to share my screen.
So I could take this model if I had a really nice model and I wanted to share it with someone else. I can share this one, but there's another viewer that's really nice called Nira for like 3D model viewing. And I could export this data and then I could put it into Nira and then you want me to pull yours up, right? And then it'll look something like this. And
again, this was not necessarily for the roofing job we did, but I have this pulled up just to show you what it's going to look like and how you can annotate and add a call out if there is any roof damage. You can use this to create a basic simple report. You can do measurements. You can do many things with it. So just give you an example, you can do measurement like that.
How much does Nira cost? Is that expensive, Root?
Yes, it's about $150 a month.
Okay.
And that's for basic, and then bigger models you add, more it is. So it's kind of on the expensive side, but it does a good job of sending it to the client, and you can pay to have your own branding in it. So it doesn't show the client that, as you can see here, voyager.nira.app. And if you pay more, you can have your own URL for that kind of stuff. You can see all the photos that were taken here.
It loads really quickly too. Like
it does load quickly because it loads a video feed of the actual 3D model that I learned recently. And you can show the camera so you can see what camera took what picture. So if you, for example, if you want to, here, I'll go here.
So you can see every
Okay.
camera position.
Yes, every camera picture. And when you click on it, you can see, and you can use this to inspect and do many things with it. So this is just another alternative if you don't want to use, I process this model in reality capture. We don't use Pix4D. We use Pix4D for the survey, but I use reality capture to make a high detail model. Then I use Neuron to share it with the clients, create the sample report or something like this.
Yeah.
So this just makes it easy for you to share with the client.
Yeah. So go check that out, guys. Nira.app. It's really good. All right. And then I know we got a lot to cover, so I'm trying to keep us moving along here. I know this has come up a few times during the session, but let's just talk briefly about who is utilizing these services. Let's say, obviously, if you are a roofer or an insurance adjuster or whatever, you can just use these for your own things, or you install solar, what have you. But if you are a more like an independent drone pilot and you want to learn these skills, who do you go talk to? How do you make yourself useful? Can you make any money on it? Right. So I think a few things I've heard so far is you can go straight to the homeowner, right? And now you would take a report of their roof to see if they have damage. And do you get, I have a couple questions I think people would want to know. Does the homeowner pay for that inspection, or do you do it for free because then you have a lead that you can sell to the roofing company?
So I would answer that one kind of way. It sounds like Root would answer another. Root, go ahead.
I was going to say, I started with selling to the homeowners and I was not getting much success. So I started reaching out to the roofing company. So what I would do, before even anyone hires me, I would go inspect the entire area, kind of created a big ortho mosaic. And then I find in myself, like how much damage is on their roof. And I find those addresses. And then I go to the roofing company. I say, hey, look, I have a lead list of 50 houses in this neighborhood that has more than 25% damage. There's guaranteed roof replacement by the insurance company. Do you want to purchase the list? They say, yeah. So they purchase it for a few $100s per house. And then that comes with it. When they purchase the thing, they have to get the full inspection report that I showed earlier. And the roofing company pays for that report. That costs about $500 to $700, depending on the roof. That's how I sell it. And that just makes it a lot easier for the roofing company, because a lot of time I approach roofing company like, hey, I'm a drone pilot. I inspect the roofs and stuff. They're like, you know what? I'm fine with that. Like, we climb on the roof. I got a lot of excuses. I didn't like that. So I'm like, how about I get my own leads and make an offer that they cannot refuse? And when you have that's going to show them they're going to make a lot of money with, they're more likely to jump on it. That's my method. Again, I was doing this long time ago. I stopped doing it because focused on many other things, but this is a great way. And I think Sinuhe has more experience than I do in this particular field.
Yeah, that's actually how I built out my business. I initially, made efforts to sell to the homeowner, but it was more difficult to sell to the homeowner because, as I was mentioning earlier, the homeowner doesn't necessarily understand, the value of it until actually they need it, right? So you don't realize that you needed all that data until your house got screwed by the weather, and now you have to prove to the insurance company. So that's a harder sell and not as valuable, I feel. What we do is we generate the lead information, if you will, from the report that includes the homeowner's information, and then we monetize that by taking that to roofers. Where I take it a little bit further than Root is I convert it into a sale and then monetize the sale, and that's worth a lot. That's worth thousands of dollars, whereas an assessment is worth hundreds of dollars. For that, you need a little bit more understanding of how to talk to roofers. You need a deeper understanding of the roof and what you're looking at and how to assess it, so that you could take what would be a product of a deliverable to the roofer that is of value to them, because it could turn into a sale of a new roof. And that's where the money lies. And that's where, if you're able to capitalize on weather events, you're going to be in a position to leverage that for more money than you would just an assessment.
Couple questions I see coming up here that I'll address. People are like, well, how do you fly over it? How do you do this? So, you're allowed to fly your drone as long as you have authorized airspace. There are some states that have rules around, you're not allowed to like purposely go conduct surveillance on someone. So don't go fly your drone over their backyard and like take photos of them or inside their house. But if you have your drone at like 400 feet and you're mapping a neighborhood, I don't think that's not going to fall under any privacy. You're not going and surveilling someone, right? There's not even an actual live video. The map is made up of tons and tons of images put together. So you're not even going to see a person if they walk
It's like
outside.
Google Maps.
Yeah, it's Google Maps.
Yeah.
It's basically an updated version of Google Maps. So, so one person was saying, how do you do that? So you could go high and you could get the whole area, right? And you can, if you have a nicer drone, you can see some detail. If you feel uncomfortable doing that, the method being proposed here is you literally knock on someone's door. Hey, I know there was a storm. I'm just conducting, roof, like free roof inspections. Can I throw my drone up? I don't have to come inside. It'll take 10 minutes. I'll give you the report for free, that you can have it. That way you can see the thing of your, report. And if you want, I can get you some estimates from roofing companies if it's bad enough. I mean, it's not really any skin off their back. I don't know why someone would say no unless they're just like, don't believe you.
So how I would position everything that David just said is with open-ended questions rather than closed-ended questions. So you could get sentiment from the homeowner and understand what they're thinking, understand how they would react to whatever it is you're offering. And from there, with more understanding, you're able to leverage what it is that you're offering them to a greater degree than if not. I just say that because, well, I'm in sales. So... But it's really clear. It's really important to ask those questions because you get the sentiment of the homeowner. Hey, how would you feel about this? How would you like to have an assessment after this after this weather event just took place with other neighbors having damage? How would you feel about having information that you can use with your insurance claim? And with those kinds of questions, you're going to get open-ended answers that allow you to understand better how to speak to that individual person, because what matters to one person may not matter to the next homeowner, even if it's relative to the same thing, in this case, hail.
Yeah. And then one thing I've noticed too is if you say, oh no, it's totally free. If you don't say something that's instantly believable to people, they'll assume you have an ulterior motive and they'll say no, even if it's free. So you have to just explain, hey, the reason I'll do it for free is because it'll be helpful to you, but how it's helpful to me is if you do qualify for a roof, I can give this to a roofer and they'll pay me for this information. So it still doesn't cost you anything, but that's the only reason I'd be willing to do it. So they're like, oh, okay, I can see, like, you get something, I get something. If you're just honest with people, I found that actually goes pretty long. Because if someone said, hey, I'm going to do this for totally free, I just want to, people are like, okay, no, like there's some reason that you want to do it for free. Even if when we tell people when they're starting businesses doing stuff that's unrelated, like let's say they're doing, hey, I want to do a free promo video for you. You have to explain, I'm trying to build my portfolio so that I can have work to showcase. And they're like, okay, that makes sense to me. I don't feel like you're like trying to pull one over on me.
Pretty scary. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, another one I wanted to mention. So we had a guy on our podcast a few years ago. His name was Spencer Boyd. You can look it up. Just type in drone to 1K Spencer Boyd and listen to that. So one of his first big jobs he got was a hurricane came through. An insurance company had so much they had to like work through, especially on commercial buildings. They insured a bunch of like schools and city and county property. They didn't know how to triage it and what to tackle first and just how to make sense of all of the damage and information. So they hired him to go do documentation of like a bunch of different schools, a bunch of different like government buildings, and to do, like I'm talking about, to annotate it, to flag it, to mark it, so that then their adjusters could go through and be like, okay, where's the worst damage? Which buildings do we need to go to first? And I think he made 10 grand in a fairly short amount of time. Now, again, it's not going to be doing that every day. But when these large storms come through, a lot of people need help because there's just so much to sort through. This is a so much faster way to do it rather than on the ground climbing. You can get through it so much more quickly. So it may not be as common, but a lot of times with large events, insurance adjusters will hire you. Power companies, I know we're talking about roofs, but I have a friend who works for a very large power company in Florida. And even though they have their own internal drone team, when there's storms come, they have a whole list of 1099s and contractors that they know are good that they'll call on to use to inspect poles, to sometimes like help like do inspect certain areas to see which places they're able to access. So again, not roofs, but just storm damage. If you can sort of network with some of these power companies when these times come and they know you're a trusted person, a lot of times they'll pay you to do that as well.
And then as an add-on to, being trusted by others to refer you or to pay you in your case, your example, realtors are really good because at least I found to be a really good, I guess, referral partner, if you will, because a lot of times, believe it or not, especially the inspectors that aren't utilizing drones, they don't get on drones when there's a transaction of a house. They don't get on roofs when there's a transaction of a house. Inspectors don't always get on roofs, especially if it's a delicate roof or a 2-story roof that's steep. So what that means is if they're not utilizing a drone, then the roof's not looked at. I had a lot of success in the San Diego market selling my services to roofers, to realtors, because they would position the assessment to the homeowner or the home buyer at the time of sale and say, hey, this is something that you should do. The inspector's not going to get on the roof. And through a network of realtors, I was able to accumulate a pretty measurable amount of business for this specific purpose in the San Diego market to supplement the inspections that were being done on the ground by the roofer, which then in turn for me meant that I had a lead for the roofing company to position that into a sale if there was any work to be done on that particular property. So,
and real quick, I know we're mainly focusing on storms, but just in the whole using a drone to survey or to get an inspection or picture of the roof. Talk a little about solar and how they use that in that industry.
So in the solar industry utilizes, at least we have significantly, and now other solar companies do as well. They deploy drone pilots that are able to gather both aerial and ground imagery to support the design of the system. That would mean electric information, where the service panel, you lift up the lid and you can see your breakers, where the power comes in. That shadow that David was showing on his house, that's called the weatherhead, where the power comes in overhead. You're looking at that with your drone, obviously. You're not getting on the roof. You look at the condition of the roof, again, with the drone. If it's a tile roof, obviously you're not going to lift the tiles, but you can see if there are any broken tiles, as Root was showing earlier. And then you're also able to take the drone to utilize it and understand your measurement from, your distance from trees, and understand how the tree's height impacts the production of solar generation as the shade moves throughout the day, given the distance from the home and the height of the tree. So the drones, I didn't invent that concept of utilizing them in the solar industry, so I'm not saying that. But early on, in late 2013, early 2014, 15, 16, when I started utilizing the drone for my own personal sales in solar, it just made my life so much easier. And then when the industry picked it up and started utilizing them in mass to do these site assessments, it's just I don't want to say they're ubiquitous yet, but they're close to ubiquitous in the solar industry, because they offer such an advantage that would otherwise cause a technician to have to get on the roof.
Yeah. So real quick, this is an overview of who's using it. We can dive more in the Q&A. I know we've been here like a little over an hour, so I wanted to briefly mention if you guys are interested in like about twice a year we offer a discount on the roof inspection course. We were already planning on doing that in October anyways, and then these 2 storms came through. So I'm like, I guess it's convenient timing. Yeah. But so I'm just gonna real quick, for those of you who are like really interested in this topic and you want to learn more deeply how to do this in the entire process, Sinuhe made it like an entire course with Drone Launch Academy a little while back. And so we have that plus a few other sort of related courses. So twice a year, we just put them on big discount. So I'll tell you about that, and then we'll keep answering questions. So in case anybody's interested, you guys can utilize that. So the first one we have, and again, these I'll tell you about like the deal we have at the end, but these are the full prices normally. So our course, Aerial Roof Inspection Pro, I was walking you through it earlier. It takes you through specifically with commercial buildings and residential buildings, the entire process that Sinuhe uses to go from pre-site planning, all of his checklists. The whole thing has like a big booklet to work through. It teaches you about roofs, the roof anatomy. So that way, if you're talking to roofers, insurance adjusters, you like know the lingo and you don't sound like a moron. Like earlier, I was like, is this a ridge cap? That won't be you, because they break it down, and I haven't been through this course in a little while. So you learn all that. We go through a bunch of other different types of roof damage that you can see beyond just the storm damage we've covered today. And then we talk about the process of doing that roof survey, doing the orthomosaic flights, doing the automated flights, the manual flights, which images to get, how to scale your orthos so that you get accurate measurements, how to create those roof reports, who you're going to deliver them to, some of what we talked about today. There was also some bonus stuff in there. I looked, so Sinuhe added 2 things: a section on marketing your services, because Sinuhe was in sales for a long time. So There's probably, I don't know, about 20 to 30 minutes, 5 different lessons on marketing yourself. And then we actually added a bonus section on property management. So Property Management Pro. So how to utilize roof inspection services to market to property managers and people who are responsible for communities, and what they are interested in, what they need to know, how to capitalize on that opportunity as well. So that's one of the courses we have. And normally full price, it's $4.99. Another one you might be interested in. So this is an add-on that Sinuhe did. So specifically for solar, if you are going to be working with solar companies, they're going to want you to get into panels like this, other things that are not quite as drone related, but that you need to know if you want to be more useful for helping with the solar design process. So Sinuhe's done this for a very long time. Again, he mapped out his entire process of what you need to do, what they're going to look for, what his checklists are. So that's like an add-on course. Normally that's $100. Another one we have, so we didn't talk about thermal today, but thermal is another way, especially for commercial roofs, that people see moisture penetration. And so if you have a thermal drone, you're looking for thermal clients, in general, this is just a good course on how to go about getting clients. So this is Jeff Carrillo here. He runs a 6-figure company called IR Aerial. All they do is thermal inspections. And so this is about a 2-hour course on how to get clients for thermal and moisture penetration inspections. So I basically just sit there and ask him questions the whole time, and he gives his lessons and who to talk to, what you need to know, what kind of deliverables they're interested in, where to meet these people, all this fun stuff like that. Last but not least, not an inspection one, but more of a storm related one. I was thinking about it. We had a mini course. This one's like only 45 minutes long, but it's taught by a guy, 25-year EMS and drone pilot. He did a 45-minute course on search and rescue with drones. So again, relevant to sort of the storm conversation we're having. That was normally $79. So let's say you were to go on our website and you bought all these individually. If you were to do that like 2 months ago, or you do that in 2 months from now, it would be $776 purchased individually. Always do the deals on the webinar. So the deal for tonight, this goes till midnight tonight. So you can write some of this stuff down. Midnight tonight. So $250 off. So this is 50% of the normal Aerial Roof Inspection Pro course. And then literally we're going to give you all of these for free if you purchase the full Aerial Roof Inspection Pro course tonight. So $776 worth of stuff. And that's not like the made up marketing number. People are like, this is a $6,000 value. No, it's not like value. It's just the actual prices if you bought them individually. So, but yeah, you can get all that for $250. Technically, that's 68% off. I did the math right before we got on here. So if you want that, you can go to ARIP. So ARIP is Aerial Roof Inspection Pro. It's sort of our acronym. aripdeal.com. And that will take you directly to the checkout page. So if you're interested in that course, you want to get in there, at least just write this down, because this expires at midnight Eastern. So like 3 hours from now. So if you're like, I need to think about it, or maybe I want to talk to my wife or whatever, and the webinar is done, just write down aripdeal.com. So you don't forget the link, or just like screenshot this page or something like that. So that's the deal. If you want it, great. If you're just here to hang out, free stuff, totally fine too. We just like to make this available, once or twice a year. And if you're really serious about want to dive into this, I think it's a really good course, a very good resource. I'm big on education. I buy tons of courses myself, even not on drone related things, obviously. I think courses are a great way to fast track your learning and just find someone who knows what they're doing, learn from them, and that way you can just shortcut all the mistakes that you would normally otherwise make.
David, I have to underscore that, because I learned a lot of the stuff that I know about how to fly a drone for revenue the hard way, unfortunately. And one of those cases, echoes what happened to Root. I had my drone automated on a flight path, and I didn't check the height, like as you described earlier. And it was a palm tree that got me. And it was on a drone where I had turned off the obstacle avoidance because I'm so smart. And sure enough, I flew right into that palm tree, and the customer was watching and I was watching, and then I felt like a loser, and he laughed and my drone laughed and I cried. It was the worst. So that's the thing. That's the value that I feel that you would get from, educating yourself to a further degree than just trying to say, well, I'm going to go figure it out yourself. Because here's the biggest thing in business that I found, and I fall victim to it, quote unquote, if you will, on a regular basis, is you don't know what you don't know. And as soon as you start to learn more about what you don't know and that you didn't know it in the first place, you start to realize, oh, this is, I can find a clearer path to my objective.
Yep. So I realized I had the course here. I was just gonna let you guys see. So this is what walks you through all the different parts of the roof. There's audio here, but so that way again, you don't sound like a moron. And we've got a nice little workbook the whole time too. That let's see here. First steps. Yeah. So you got this workbook. It's a 47-page workbook. Let me see if it can open up here. Oh yeah, here we go. So it comes with this. You follow this along throughout the entire course. You can print it out, or you can just have it on PDF. But literally, it's all the roof damage is pointed out in here. Take notes as you go. So for every single lesson, we have stuff for you to follow along with. So you're actually learning. You're not just kind of passively looking around. So that. So it's about roofs, identifying roof damage. We get into different types of roof damage examples. Get into specifics about different types of roofing materials, commercial roofs, residential roofs. Again, we go through that process. I'm not going to do it too much. Planning the flight, conducting it, turning it into usable reports, generating the roof report. And then they do 2 job shadow walkthroughs. So we do a full residential house walkthrough. They look at the pool solar, and then they inspect the roof on a Thai residential one. And then they do a commercial job walkthrough. So this is a flat roof, exactly what they're looking for, what they're doing the whole time, our pre-flight checklists, actually collecting the data, all the manual photos they're getting. So they just talk through it as they're doing it. So you can see another example of what it looks like to do this. And then here were some of the bonus ones I was talking about. So this is the property management section, and then some bonus on marketing that Sinuhe was talking about. So just in case you wanted an extra little sneak peek there. So if you want that, just say, let us know in the chat. If you do get it, it'll take a little while to add those extra bonuses to your account, because we have to go manually see who got it before midnight, and all that fun stuff. And then we'll add it in tomorrow. If this link doesn't work for you guys for some reason, the code is just STORM50. Storm. Oh gosh, I did not plan that out well. Let's put it over here. STORM50 is the promo code. So if you go to the roof inspection course, you can just go to DroneLaunchAcademy.com, find Aerial Roof Inspection Pro, and if you do STORM50, it should work. So cool, nice. Steve's in. Thanks, Steve. Jose signed up. Excellent, cool guys. All right, Q&A time.
Yeah, if I could I address some of the questions that happened earlier on?
Please.
Is that okay?
Please. Yeah. Dive
in. Yeah, so a lot of people were kind of asking, practically, how do you use this? Do you sell it to the homeowner? Do you sell it to an insurance company? So, I know we brushed on it a little bit, but I kind of want to go over this. Because particularly right now, right, we just had everything that happened in Florida. Everyone's well aware of it. I just did a quick search on Indeed. There's over 486 job listings on Indeed alone just for this hurricane that just went through Florida, strictly for roofing. Now, one things that a lot of people don't understand about roofing is all 1099. All these guys are independent contractors. Most of them work on their own time. They work on their own clock. They do as much as they want or as little as they want. And so really what this offers you is all of the knowledge and resources that you actually need to actually be doing these inspections yourself. Now, you can, once you have this root of knowledge, once you have this backbone, you can then go to a roofing company, say, I'm certified to do roofing inspections. I know how to inspect damage. I know how to see it. All I need is a 1099 contract. What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to bring you jobs. Now, across the board, most of these roofing industry, if you want to be a hands-on guy, you're going to get 50% of the margin on these jobs. Now, the average margin on these jobs is anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000. If you want to be hands-on with it, you get 50% of that. A lot of these roofing companies, if you go to them and say, I'm just going to give you deals and give me 20% of the margin, then, who would deny that, right? If somebody came to you and said, hey, I want to give you $20,000, but I'm going to keep 20% of it, you'd be like, of course, right? Who would say no to it? So that's what you're able to offer them is expertise, an eye in the sky. You generate your own leads. You make money however you want. You work as much as you want or as little as you want. And so we see an entire industry shifting in this direction what this allows you to do is get ahead of the curve. And so we haven't seen the adjuster side fully switch, but we have seen the actual industry retail side. They are going to it. Just like GAF, I said earlier, they've already coupled with Loveland Innovations. So they're doing it as a company. They're trying to sell it to, their contractors. Really, what this allows you to do is to go to those contractors and do it for a much cheaper price than GAF is offering them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Yeah, and a couple things. A couple other questions. Someone is, how long do you get access and all this stuff? So, lifetime access to the course, and also I believe there's if you go through the course and you're like, oh, actually, I don't think this course is what I wanted, and I don't think it's very good. If you actually do the course, and you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. We're not gonna we don't want you to buy something that you're like, oh, this is actually not very good. You can just let us know, hey, I didn't like this course, and we'll say, okay, cool. We'll give you a refund. Just don't make it 3 years from now. Go through the course and in the next 30 days or so you can figure that out, because that's not really fair to either of us if you just decide in 5 years that you don't want this course anymore. No, thanks, Michael. That's crazy. I didn't realize that about how many jobs there were for this.
Mm-hmm.
We have, I don't know about roofers, but we had linemen, because we had a lot of power outages. We had linemen coming all the way from Canada to come down here to help get power back. That's how many people were sort of descending on this area after a large storm. And again,
with Drone Quote, we actually have our guys going out to Florida right now as well.
Oh, really?
Because there's just not enough roofers there.
Yeah. So, and it's, we're talking a lot about Florida, but any large event
nationwide,
that's a lot of roof damage, you're going to have the same thing.
I was on mute. I was on mute trying to make that same point. So you beat me to it. So in places like Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, where there's a greater
the whole Midwest.
Yeah, there we go. The whole Midwest. Anywhere where there's greater degree of damage from hail or high winds is where you have the ability to monetize the information you're collecting by turning it into a contract of a roof or for a contractor. Now that is a lot more valuable than if you try to just sell an individual report to a homeowner. You're going to make way more money on the monetizing into a sale of a roof.
And one of the cool things with doing insurance work like this. Oh, go ahead. Did you have something, David?
No, I'm sorry. I just saw a little comment. I forgot. We have it set up to automatically, if you buy this course, you get a discount on the solar course. Don't do that, because we'll add it for free for you. So someone just made a comment it tried to sell me the solar course for $50. Yeah, just don't just say no and we'll add it for free. Sorry, keep going, Michael.
Yeah. So one of the reasons, I love insurance work so much, which has kind of been, it's the season, right? Florida cursed us all. So it's all that we have in our minds right now. And in North Carolina too, all those states. And so one of the cool things about this work is you're not selling anything to the homeowner. So let's say if you guys took all these courses, you're a specialist when it comes to roofing, when it comes to these, solar even, because that's going to be needed in insurance work as well. So if you're an expert in this, you go to a roofing company, you find a reputable one, say, look, I'll bring in my own leads, I'll bring in my own sales, I can do full inspections, I can identify what needs to be done, all with my drone. Basically, what you're doing is you're going to homeowners and you're saying, hey, I'm doing courtesy drone inspections just to see. Did I lose audio?
No, we got
you. I lost audio. Oh, okay, you can hear me. Okay. It clicked in my ear. I wasn't sure. But what you're doing is you're going and you're saying that you're doing courtesy inspections on their behalf just to see if they have damage. And if they do, what you have is you have a one-page sheet that's strictly a contingency, right? And what this says in this contract between you and the homeowner, which would actually be with the roofing company or any of these companies that you decide to sign up with, is that it says that you're their advocate. That's it. It's no prices listed. The homeowner's not obligated to pay anything because this is strictly between the roofing company and the insurance company, right? And so what you're there to do is you're there to defend the homeowner and make sure that the insurance company pays what is needed for that homeowner's roof. And so it's like the easiest sale. You're strictly out there defending people who have just been through, sometimes tragedies. They've been through a difficult time, and you're there to help them. And it's a breeze. It's the easiest contract you can ever get signed.
Michael, first off, that's great. I love it. someone asked, is there a way to get a copy of that type of template, that contingency agreement, or is that sort of like a company by
Yeah. So
company
what?
proprietary?
Yeah. So that's basically most companies use the exact same thing. If you wanted to, you can always start your own like 1099 company or LLC, things like that. But what I would personally recommend to get started is I would, take these courses. You become an expert in it. You can then go to these roofing companies and you're basically educating them in it. And you sign up as a 1099 contractor with them, and they'll give you the contingency agreements. And so they'll
Gotcha.
supply all that for you, unless you wanted to start your own company doing that. But I would recommend using a roofing company to do that with them.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Let's see if I can scroll back here and see some questions. What's oops. What was this question? I think the comments are coming in quickly, so post it again so we can see it for you.
Is insurance required for this type of work?
Real quick, someone asked this.
Oh.
So we have a course on mapping, but it's more for like large scale mapping of like construction sites and more like engineering, not necessarily one like asset inspection. For this is specifically for roofs. So in this course, we talk about how to do the automated flight plan, but just specifically for one structure, like a home. So more like this is like small scale mapping, so to speak.
So Jace Taylor says he doesn't see 400 jobs on Indeed for drone pilots. What we're referring to, Jace, is we're referring to roofing salesmen. So what they're looking for is roofers that are going to inspect roofs and sign a contingency. And what this course offers you is the exact equipment to be able to do that simply with your drone. So you'll see if you just Google roofing jobs, Florida, Indeed has 486 right now.
Can you get us done that quickly, being new to space for hurricane? They're going to be doing this for a while down here. The cleanup takes a long time. But yeah, I mean, it's really not super complicated because the drone is, you want some skills flying the drone if you're going to get closer to certain things. But it doesn't take that long to do. The rest of it's just learning how to operate the apps and to process things. And, you could get through this course and do all the exercises in probably a week or less and get up to speed with it. So yeah, I would say so. What's the most effective method for marketing roof inspections?
I would say door to door is honestly a great way to do it. Sinuhe, you gotta unmute yourself. He doesn't want to.
You're still muted, Sinuhe. Here, I'll do it.
So that is really effective. It just takes more effort, right? And it is a little bit more time consuming, but it is cost effective, extremely cost effective, relatively speaking. Where I had success is, and it's not something that happens overnight, guys. So what I'm about to share, but what I had success is building my value to realtors, because the realtors were talking to my customers, and oftentimes during the transaction of a sale is when I would be called out for these assessments. However, if you build a good relationship, or as I've built good relationships with realtors, there's referral business that comes of it after the fact. So if you live in an area where you've built out a network of realtors that you offer your services to, you're able to utilize them as referral partners when there are weather events that their clients would be reaching out to them. Hey, I have an issue with my roof after this hailstorm. Can you recommend a roofer? I mean, the realtor is typically somebody that if you build a good connection with as a homeowner, somebody who you're going to turn back to because they know a lot of the contractors that are going to be helping you with whatever home issue you're having. In this case, we're talking about roofs. So realtors were a really good marketing partner for me, and it's worked really well. And it's low cost. Yeah. Just takes effort.
Another great way to do it, honestly, if you just do it in your local region, right? And let's say a hailstorm goes through, anything like that, if you're down in Florida, any of these events, if you just put it on your social media, like, hey, any friends or family, if you are, suspect there might be damage, I can come out and do a courtesy drone inspection and let you know if there's any damage, right? And there you go. You have the yin already. It's an ambassador, it's a friend, a referral. And then you just build up that referral pipeline. Once the word gets out that, hey, my cousin does drone inspections, or my sister, my aunt, whatever, that's huge business right there, because who's going to say no to you if you want to sign a contract, right?
Yeah. We had another question from Brandon. So RTK necessary? No, not for this. RTK is if you really need very accurate positioning relative to like the globe or some specific coordinate on the Earth. It's called like absolute accuracy. And that's usually for more like surveying. So if you're doing like boundary surveying, if you're working with a construction or engineering firm and they have other people that have made plans that are going to be overlaid on top of things. But for this, you're just inspecting sort of the individual building. And so what you need is relative accuracy, not absolute accuracy. And RTK matters much less for that. So really what matters on your relative accuracy is something called GSD, ground sampling distance, is basically how nice of a camera you're using and how low to the ground you're flying. Because it gets you more detail, which means that more ground is covered within sort of 1 pixel of an image, and that gets you nice, crispy, and accurate photos. So you don't need RTK. I mean, I did that with the Mavic Air 2S, which you can get used for maybe like $800 or $900. And really, you can use, I mean, not that it's ideal, but you could use a Mini 2 with Drone Link. You might just have to fly a little closer to the roof, and that's a $300 drone, $300 or $400 drone, something like that. So you can do it with pretty simple gear. Someone asked a question: do you get a certification after finishing the course? Yes. We give you a certificate. We actually made up a little badge you can put on your website. So you have to submit an assignment. You have to submit an actual roof report that you've done. You can just do it of your own house if you want. So we know that you actually know how to do it successfully. And then you take and answer questions and like pass a test for us. And then we'll give you a badge, certified. It was aerial roof survey specialist or something like that. I can't remember the exact badge name. You can put that on your website and you can link it back, and it tells whoever it is, hey, this person has passed this test. They've submitted a project that we've reviewed. And so we sort of give some criteria that we've sort of signed off that you've successfully shown competency in this area. Now, again, they'd have to we're just a third party. So there might, oh, who's this drone company? But at least it's a third party saying that you have skills that we have verified. Someone says, as far as creating 3D images, how is it useful for the insurance company or roofing company versus the 2D images? Yeah, good question. So the 2D images, you can just look and go through pretty quickly if you wanted to. It's just another angle and perspective to see if things are maybe lifting up, like shingles are like lifting up, or if you're looking at different types of slopes. It just gives you another view, another vantage point, and it's easier for whoever is using that to see where on the asset that thing is. It's just sometimes easier to visualize in 3D space, and they can click on that annotation, and then the original photographs pop up and they can inspect it a little bit more clearly.
Yeah, eventually what's going to happen is the insurance company, and this, I would imagine this is about 5 years out right now, is that the homeowner's insurance company they're going to begin to take that report rather than sending a person to go out and inspect separately. Because it's cheaper if so eventually it's going to ship this way where we create that full 3D model and we just send that off to the insurance company and they use that for their inspection rather than sending someone out.
Yeah. Scott says he's got this other company. No, you don't need a different business setup. If you ever wanted to do it under a different name, you could just do like a DBA, doing business as, keep your same legal structure, and then you can just operate under a different name. That's what people do when they start sort of, let's say there's a company, and I know a company, and they were home builders, and then they started doing pools, and then they started doing landscaping, and they had different names for each one of those businesses, but it was all under the same one. They were just different DBAs, doing business as. So you can just do it that way. I mean, you can't start another company.
I wouldn't personally do that, just because, especially if I'm working with realtors, I want to be able to offer them as much value as possible, so as to bundle or upsell additional services in one go. I would not segregate them.
Yeah.
Cool. Bobby, good to have you. Do you need insurance for this type of work? So I would recommend Skywatch. If you're doing just like onesie twosies, if you're doing more than, I think, 6 flights a month, it's probably good to just get like your own like liability policy. That's a full regular policy. But if you're just doing like 2 jobs, you can get $1 million in liability insurance for something like $15, I think, for an hour, somewhere in that range, by skywatch.ai. And so, in case roofers are like, oh, are you insured? You can say, hey, I got my Part 107 license. If you do, which you should, you do need that to do this. I got my Part 107 license. I have liability insurance. They'll give you like a certificate of insurance that you can show people. So yeah, you can be insured for all that.
Cool.
Good to have you. There's gonna be a live stream on mapping. Yeah, we're gonna do next month. We're gonna do something on mapping. So not necessarily on roof inspections, but sort of the practice of mapping for like large scale mapping, different use cases, but still the same kind of photogrammetry. And I believe if you don't have your Part 107 license, I think I saw some other questions about this. Our normal prep course, we put it as if you are getting the roof inspection course, you can add that on. I think we gave half off on that too. So if you did need help studying for that, you can do that. That's our most popular course, is people taking that as a prep course. It's really good. I mean, I'm obviously biased because I helped create it, but if you want to use something else, it's fine too, but that's an option on there. Scott Boyer's question. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Any other questions? Sorry, I'm trying to, let me scroll to the bottom and work my way up here. Yeah, one thing I would just say, this hasn't come up yet, but I just wanted to address it. Sometimes, like right after a storm, it's tempting to like throw your drone up and go look around and stuff like that, which sometimes is okay. However, in certain areas where they're doing like water rescues, they have helicopters in the air, they will issue TFRs, like temporary flight restrictions. And then they'll ask you not to fly your drone, and there can be pretty severe penalties for interfering with search and rescue, law enforcement, those types of activities. So just double check. Those should show up on all your flight planning apps like Autopilot and oh gosh, what's the other one now? It was Kitty Hawk. Now it's Aloft. So if you check those, they should show up. But just know that, just double check that to make sure you're not going to get in the way of, evac or law enforcement or other types of efforts. But usually those are, directly after the storm, and only sometimes after that, though, they pretty much cleared out. I actually know, fun fact, I know a guy, he works for one of the power companies. He was flying his drone around. He was talking about this at a conference, and they were looking for like power assets, and he found someone who was stranded on their roof, and they were able to like give them a few supplies based on the from the drone, and then actually were able to go find them and rescue them off their roof, where they sent people out there. So an accidental search and rescue with a drone. Does an old Phantom 4 Pro, would that do the job? That's going to be great.
Best drone.
Yeah, great option.
Yeah.
For this, the only license you need is Part 107 license. Again, you're not stamping reports. Like if someone needs a report stamped, you can do like Root did and go find a structural engineer, architect to work with you, and you say, hey, I'm going to collect the data. If you want to inspect the reports, that happens quite frequently on people who are doing building inspections. They partner with engineers. You get the data, they inspect the data. But just to fly, you don't need that. Those who evacuated my town right after Milton on my social went out and did 11 complimentary quick inspections the next day. Wow. Very cool.
Wow.
Dang. Video Tampa, what's your phone number? How do I get in touch with you?
That could be 11 contracts right there.
Yeah, dude.
That's huge.
Real 760-76941.
Another one said, what about government contracts on the inspection component? I don't have much experience there. Do you guys know much about government contracts?
No, it's such a long, drawn out process. I did get into government contracting early on with Drone Quote, but it was, I'm still waiting on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not my cup
cool.
of tea.
I don't know Drew X5452, but I appreciate your kind comments on our Part 107 course. Obviously self-serving of me to put that across the screen, but I just wanted to throw it.
I love how forward you are about it, right? You're like, hey, I'm calling out this.
Well, how about DJI Air 2S? Well, Larry, glad you asked.
Oh, that's what he flew earlier today.
Yeah, that's what I used. I flew it at like 85 feet. The flight time was literally 2 minutes. It's probably my favorite drone because you can use it for, let me do a little hard sell on it real quick. They just announced the Air 3S today. I need to look at it a little more. I don't know if it can do mapping stuff. It doesn't seem like it would yet. But the Air 2S, DJI likes to force you into enterprise drones if you're going to do anything mapping now. Like all the drones they make, they don't open the SDK. They make it hard to automate. So, but some of the other drones, so if you can find an Air 2S, like you can find them used, or Phantom 4 Pro, you can use this with software called Drone Link, the one I showed you. And it uses a little bit of a different methodology to control the drone, but it still works totally fine. But this has got a 1-inch sensor and a 20 megapixel camera, which is larger. Most of the smaller drones have a 12 megapixel camera and like a smaller sensor. I don't know what the exact dimensions are. So this drone is nice because it can do good mapping work. Like the next level up from here would probably like the Mavic 3 Enterprise, which is like a $4,000 plus drone. But then you can do a lot of really good stuff with this, especially for this type of work. We don't need like RTK. You don't need the absolute accuracy. If you're just going for relative accuracy, great drone. And it also does like really nice video, photos. I went to Napa and did like a winery video thing for some winery out there, and it looked awesome. And then I turned around and did mapping with it. So it's just like one of my favorite all-around drones. I can fit in my suitcase. So I would highly recommend Air 2S. Just wanted to go off on that for a second.
I got to share that the point that I would make about this is you don't necessarily need a very high-end, sophisticated drone. Most middle of the road, yeah, not for what we're talking about here in this course. Most middle of the road drones will be more than enough for what we're discussing here, because ultimately you just want to be able to see that there's damage, and then the rest of the work turns into how to monetize it, right? So once you understand that there's damage with this roof that you found with your drone, your money's going to be made in monetizing that, not necessarily having the crispiest, sharpest, image that you could possibly find from the most sophisticated drone. Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons you need a really high quality, like big sensor on some of these drones is a lot of like traditional mapping jobs, right? You're going to say like, hey, I've got 100 acres of, orchards that I need mapped, or a large construction site. So you need to cover large areas. And so to get the kind of detail you need, you have to have a nice camera and still be able to fly high. Because if you're going to fly down at like 85, 75 feet, and you're going to cover a really large area, that's going to take you forever. Just because think about the viewpoint of the camera is not really covering much ground. When you get up to 400 feet, it covers a lot of ground. So with these types of inspections, you're going to be flying really as close to the roof as you safely can. So you can get a lot of images, you can get a lot of detail. And so when you're that close, whether it's 12 megapixels or 20 megapixels, it's not going to make as much of a difference as it might in some other type of use case. Now, if you're going to do what Root had suggested and fly at 400 feet and survey large areas, it might be hard to then zoom way in on a house and see if there's any real damage there. It's just going to be too pixelated. So that's the one area where you might, run into some issues.
I had one question on there by Mark Neese. Can I answer that real quick?
Is it? Yeah. Oh man, I'm getting left in the dust on these comments.
Yeah, no worries. I'll read it. He said, how do you hold these roofing companies accountable for like back end payments on job margin? It seems like they could lie about the total job cost revenue percent, and how do you even know which jobs they're working? And so really what this would come down to, Mark, is the agreement that you would have between you and the roofing company that you sign up with. For instance, you could sign up with them and just be like an ambassador, right? And say, any job that I bring you, just give me $1,000 or give me $500 ambassador referral. And obviously you'll have a contact with the homeowner and you have a contact with them. You're going to know every single one that's signed. If you do it on like a percent of the margin, what they will give you is actually access into what's called their CRM or their backend database. So you're going to see the cost of everything, the cost of the shingles, the cost of the labor, absolutely everything. So it's all fully transparent. And that's every roofer out there operates in that type of world. And in reality, everything comes down to a little bit of trust and faith. Everyone gets screwed over somewhere, but it's pretty rare, honestly, that they're just going to blatantly lie like that and just straight up take advantage of you. I've been in the industry for quite some time now. It's extremely rare.
Yeah, you're going to want to work with reputable companies as well that have a good presence in terms of reviews and such, because ultimately what you're doing is helping the homeowner replace their roof after a weather event, and you want to make sure that you are working with a company that's not only going to do right by the homeowner, or excuse me, do right by you in getting paid, as we've been discussing, but also do right by the homeowner. So clearly, if you see a 1-star company and a 5-star company and they're both interested in your services, I would not encourage you to do business with a 1-star company.
Yeah. And then Ralph had another question. Starting out as 10% too low. It depends on what you're doing. How involved are you in the process, Ralph? If you're simply just acquiring these accounts and doing a quick inspection and then handing it over to the roofing company, that's not bad, right? But if they want you to be more involved than that, I'd ask for more, or at least, put some feelers out and get to know more roofing companies in your area and find out what they're all paying around there.
Pedro, what's the average annual revenue doing this job? I'm not sure if it's easy to get to annual revenue.
Yeah, so like if you want to do like just roofing, right? If you want to do just, let's say you just do storm chasing, right? So you work 3 months out of the year. The average storm chaser makes 79 to 140,000 a year, and that's strictly doing inspections and signing contingency. So it's outrageous. You guys can Google it. These people, you just travel, you chase storms, and now you just inspect with a drone.
Yeah. So the
you
point
guys
that
have
you made
experience of roofing companies going up to 20. Is that 20% of the gross value, or was that of the
No, it's
margin?
of margin, right? So
How
so
much
that's
they're
like
gonna
two
take?
ways that to look at it. Yeah, and so a lot of companies, depending on like if you're in a saturated area, like let's say Colorado, for instance, right? Colorado's one of the roofing capitals. It's pretty easy to find a roofing company that's going to pay you 50% of the margin, which is what their profit is. So that's a pretty easy find. But
Gotcha.
yeah, and then the thing that you have to understand here, flight photography and video, is that it's all in how you position what it is you're offering to the company, right? If you say to them, "Hey, I have roof pictures," they're gonna hard
I'll
to
give you
say.
$100.
Yeah, but if you say, "Hey, I have site data that will allow you to quantify the value of a roof and how much you're gonna sell it for, and how much and the roof has been bought, or excuse me, the insurance claim has been processed with the insurance company through the homeowner. This is all has started. The homeowner has engaged with the insurance agency for this claim. That's a lot more valuable than you saying, I have roofing pictures, right? So it's how you position the same thing, right? One could be roofing pictures, and the other could be all the deliverables that turn into a sale, and it's the same file with the same, a folder with the same files in it. It's just how you're positioning that information.
Or how much you want to be involved. Let's say if you just want to sell the pictures, it's a hot lead, you could sell it to them for maybe $50, right? But if you want to get a contingency sign and be involved in the process, you'll make, $4,000. So it just depends on what level of care you want to take in it.
Here's a good. Greg asked, which companies are best for creating the roof reports? I know that Drone Deploy, they're actually got a lot more expensive. Before, when they were a little more affordable, they had like a roof report add-on. I'm not sure what that looks like now. There are, Sinuhe. I don't know how Drone Quote works these days, but there are some other. I don't know. Do you want to speak to this? I know there are several options out there.
Yeah, there's a software that you can. That's a good question. I didn't even bring that up. So you know what? We can offer a year's free worth of Drone Quote Measure. So Drone Quote Measure, it's a very rudimentary tool, but it'll allow you to generate roof reports and measurements and area of roof, the pitch, like all this information that you would need to generate a report. You could put in your customer's information, and it generates a 5-page PDF that gives you all this data with. It's presentable. It's nice, but it's rudimentary, right? And that's. You can have a year free for it. Oh, crap. I got to make a note of that.
And then, I know that's just for full options here. So I think
that's one option.
There's another one just called roofer.com. For like $12, you can get a measurement report if you just need the measurements. So you can give it your data. And I think you can give it your drone data, and it'll give you
you got to draw out the roof report with them, similar to what I was describing. There's also God, what was it? I use my software, dude. I haven't looked
Yeah.
at it for other.
So,
So
I mean, Drone Quote will do that, and if you can get it for free from Sinuhe, then that would be good. And he can put information on that. I don't know if you want to throw that into the course, Sinuhe.
yeah, I'll do that. If you want to send me a list of the people that buy the course, I'll send you a code that you can send to them, and they'll just have this surprise email in there with, "Hey, you got access to the software."
And then, like there's the apps like Nero, right? Like if you need the measurements, those are the roof reports. But if you just want to annotate damage, really Pix4D, Nero, Drone Deploy, some of these other, any really reality capture, these you can create these models or orthomosaic images with these software packages and give those annotations through that. So if they're just looking for the damage, if they need all the measurements, then you can use one of those other tools, or you can outline the house in those other tools too, and it'll still give you the area and the slope and all that. Some people are asking if this is, getting a lot of, can I watch this later? This is YouTube live, so as soon as we're done, it should just be up on YouTube as a former live video. So yeah. I'm not sure. Let's see here. A lot of questions coming in still here. Just bought it. Sweet. Chris. So the software that Sinuhe was talking about, it's called Drone Quote Measure. It's Sinuhe software that he had several years ago and has been working on for a long time, making it good. It measures roofs, but there are like other products out there that you can, I think, pay for, which are one is like Roofer. I haven't used that one. roofr.com. You can look at that. And there are a few others. Some of them use satellite imagery, which is not going to be very accurate.
Majority of them, yeah.
So, cool. Man, getting late, guys. I don't know how much longer we're hanging in there, but we'll. Cool. Can you comment? Oh, here we go. Why DJI instead of Autel? Yeah, you can certainly do this with an Autel. I mean, everybody's always like, "Oh, this guy's, he just loves DJI." Personally, I do just like using DJI drones because I think they're good. And I just love the Chinese spying on my house. That's why I took a lot of photos with my DJI drone of my house because I want the Chinese to know exactly what my home looks like. No, but Autel, I think Autel, by the way, Autel is still manufactured in China. I think it'd be fine too. I know they have, I think maybe their own mapping automation tool for Autel, but it doesn't matter what you take the pictures with. If it's a drone image and it's stamped with the coordinates, which it should be from Autel drones, when you load, no matter what software you load that into, it should read that metadata and be able to reconstruct the model no matter what, because it uses tie points. It uses the coordinates from the metadata to sort of place them initially. You saw those little camera points in Nero when Root did that. It knows that from the metadata. But then to create the model, it looks for common tie points and like unique signatures among the photos and builds the model that way in the photogrammetry software. So,
hey, we lost your camera there, Dave.
I'm sorry. It shuts off every 30 minutes. I just have to hit the button. Sorry.
Yeah, I can't. There we go. See, there's your. I can now confirm that you are in fact handsome. There you go. I should share something with you guys that happened through one of these webinars several years ago. So you've met him before, David. His name is James. He's a roofing guy out of Colorado.
Okay.
And he actually bought this course several years ago, and I think it was in like 2021. And he ended up utilizing the things that he learned from the course when he had roof damage from a hailstorm in Colorado. And the insurance company was trying to pull one over on him. And he realized, wait a minute, hold on. There's more to this than you guys are telling me based on what I know. And he was able to get his whole roof replaced at what would otherwise have been just like, here's a check for $2,000 to do some repairs. But what that led into was not the benefit that he got from, getting his roof replaced as it should have been. He actually got more involved with understanding about roofs, and it was the seed was planted with this course where he's a roofing professional now. He's been selling roofs since then, and I went and visited him recently. He does pretty well for himself. So guys, listen, selling
does really well.
Yeah, selling roofs for may not sound like your line of work that you would think you would do, but this is a tool that facilitates the sale of roofs. That's why I started Drone Quote, because I realized, holy shit, pardon my language, this drone is such a valuable tool that I can leverage it to sell solar and roofing and several other things. But there's just such an opportunity that if you leverage it right, granted, you have to leverage it right, because you could definitely leverage it wrong. I flew into a palm tree once. That if you leverage it right, you can utilize this tool to give yourself an advantage where a lot of companies aren't using them yet, although it's only a matter of time. So there's that.
Yeah, one of the crazy things, so when I came out to Colorado, I took off in the roofing industry out here, and it was simple, right? And the reason being is the roofing industry is rather archaic in the sense that you have roofers selling roofs. That's just not a good idea. It's like having a computer programmer try to sell you a computer. You're just not going to understand what he's going to say, and he doesn't connect with you. You don't understand him; he doesn't understand you. And so, really, what's best is for somebody outside of the industry to come in and shed light on the industry, and it makes it an easier sale. And so, some of you guys are super personable. You're creative. You're entrepreneurs. This is going to be the easiest thing you've ever done. Not to mention, you're going to be a breath of fresh air for every homeowner that's looking for a new roof, because you're the first non-roofer that they talk to.
Sorry, I'm seeing some questions and I'm trying to jot down notes on the screen
You're
for
good.
people who are still watching. I think people are asking like, hey, is there anything I'm going to need once I get in the course? So you can do Maps Made Easy. I think it's free for small maps or very cheap, like maybe like $2 or $3 to process a map. The nicer one that you saw me doing with the model and all that was Pix40 Cloud Basic. I see people have. I have not on the. Same. Oh yeah, real quick. Let's give a quick shout out. Sinuhe got absolutely shredded since the last time he was. If you go watch the course and you see Sinuhe now, Sinuhe has like a 6-pack, can lift up small and large children. Like he's.
Damn, son.
Anyway.
Listen, man. Sam, you just made my freaking week, and it's only Tuesday, man. Thanks.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, back to business. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So some people are asking, so that was like, if you wanted to use that $60 a month, you could literally, it's like credit based. So you could use it for 1 month, get the credits and then like cancel it. And then you just have those 60 or whatever, how many credits, and you can buy more if you want. So that's if you want to use that. Maps Made Easy. Again, there's no subscription, and Birdie is the same way. You sort of like pay as you go by how many gigapixels you're using, but it's super cheap, like a couple dollars per map. The only downside is that the sort of annotation process isn't quite as nice, and it's a little bit better in 2D than it is in 3D. So you sort of kind of pay what you get for, but if budget is a constraint, you can use some of these cheaper options. Sorry, I really have to sneeze here. It's coming.
Yeah, guys, listen. When I started this way back in the day, I didn't buy any advanced software. Like I didn't spend any money on. Well, I did, but not. I spent as little as I could. And who didn't get my money was Drone Deploy. They were way out of my budget, especially when I first started. I was like, man, I'm not trying to live like that. You could, if you figure it out, you could piecemeal a lot of it at a pretty, low cost. We get into the less expensive options as how to put things together on the course. Or if you want, you just run your credit card through a Drone Deploy, and they'll hook you up with a lot of the software tools that we're discussing here. You're just gonna pay quite a bit for it. It's pretty expensive.
Somebody
asked about drone. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh no, go ahead. You're good, David.
No, I just asked about the drone mapper. I haven't personally used it, but I'm looking at it now. It's, relatively inexpensive. So, I mean, if it's any decent photogrammetry software is gonna work for you, for the most part. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, somebody was asking about tracking hail and storms and damage in your area. A great site that I use is Hailtrace, HAILTRACE. They have like a daily, podcast too, where they just go over everything that's happening. They're awesome. The free is fine. If you guys want to pay them, you always can. I honestly just do free, and they just give you updates on where to go. Hail maps, you can just Google hail maps. And when it says hail maps or hail trace, it's more than just hail. It's any storm that creates damage to homes. They're going to give you all the information.
Cool.
Hey, David, did you have an in-person event last year? I thought you did. People are asking about that.
Yeah, well, we have an in-person event just for our like a private membership community that you can join. Well, you could have joined last month, and a lot of people did, but that's coming up. Excuse me, in like 3 weeks. But it's a pretty small event. Everybody always asks for live events. Maybe next year we'll do more like in-person trainings. One time we gave away a free mapping in-person training, and we flew somebody down. That was pretty fun. So I don't know. Maybe we'll put out some feelers if you guys want to do an in-person mapping training, and there's enough of you. I just think like, you're gonna travel all the way down here, but I guess people want to do that. Or we could go road show and just go around. I don't know. It's a lot. In person is a lot of work, but
yeah,
I think they're fun hanging out with people. But there's none on the books right now. Anything else? Ooh, at 2 hours. We probably need to call it off here. So I'm in Lakeland. I'm outside of Tampa, Florida. Probably 40 minutes outside of downtown Tampa. So that we do it here. We got a big spot we can do it at. But yeah, check out Drone Launch Connect if you guys are wanting to come to a live event. If you guys really want to come to that, it's on November first weekend in November, or November like 9th, 10th, something like that. Or no, it's after. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's like the 9th, 10th weekend. So
it's in the future.
Email us, david@dronelaunchacademy.com. All right, cool. Well, I think we're going to call it there. Again, if you're still thinking about it, I would write this down, aripdeal.com, and or screenshot it. That if you change your mind, there's still 2 hours left on that deal. And it comes with all this. It'll automatically just shut off at midnight. We just put a little expiration on it. So you got till midnight Eastern. Appreciate y'all being on here. Always have a good time doing these trainings, talking to everyone. Yeah. And so everybody thanks Sinuhe and Mike for coming on, and Root, he had to take off earlier, but appreciate him being on. Drone Launch Academy would not exist if kind folks like Sinuhe and Mike and Root didn't, jump on board and offer their expertise. Because, I'm not a true expert in any of these areas. I just go find people who do this stuff day in and day out and try to bring them to you all. So I'm basically just a giant networker. And it's fun. I like it. I get to learn a lot of stuff myself. So, all right, everyone. Thanks so much. And we'll see you on the next one.
Y'all take care.